Namaste and good morning, everyone. We'll start our class with the prayers, and you repeat along with me. First, we will do Guru Mantra. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Then the teacher and student mantra. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Then Mahamrityunjaya mantra 3 times. This is for praying for well-being for everybody who is in suffering. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Iva Bandhanan Mrityormukshiyamamrutat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Iva Bandhanan Mrityormukshiyamamrutat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Iva Bandhanan Mrityormukshiyamamrutat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Welcome everyone. So I found a lot of interest in the class, and many of you actually sent the solutions to exercises. Many of you didn't. So I would request others also to go ahead and submit the responses to those exercises. I wish I could have responded to each and every email, but I looked at a few of them, and Brahmachari Ben Baba, who is here with me in the ashram, he actually looked pretty much every one of them. But we didn't just have the time, you can understand, with so many responses to respond to you on a personal basis. However, I noticed a few things, and I would like to just address those things. That one thing I would say is that double check your work before you send it. There were quite a few mistakes actually. Considering that this was just a copying, I would expect that there should be no mistake because the original text is given to you. So please make sure, do it slowly. There is no hurry. I understood that yesterday when I gave the class exercise, the time was not probably enough, so there was a bit of a hurried thing. But going forward, we can correct that. I would like you to do your exercises very correctly, double check, and make sure that what the output of your handwriting or typing is exactly what is matching what I'm asking. And this is very important because a script, when we are trying to learn the script, those who do not want to learn Devanagari, are not familiar with Devanagari, they can just ignore Devanagari. The course does not depend upon knowing Devanagari. But everybody must know the Roman script, this kind of a script, which is extremely important that this has to be known. And the itrans for typing on the computer. So that has to be very familiar. So please make sure before you send your exercises, double check them and make sure that they are correct. The more practice you do, the more you would be able to absorb. Another thing, when you are typing, just try to pronounce the letter by yourself. So all the sounds, and I'll just show you a place. I'll just enable your share 1 second. So when you are typing, just type the letters also. Just type the letter and pronounce them actually. So pronounce them loudly. That way you will get a feeling of how do these letters sound. I just want to share the other screen with you, but I am not very sure whether I'm actually sharing the whole screen or just the PowerPoint. So let me just make sure that sharing is okay. Screen sharing. So just let me know if you can see the Word document. Just say yes, or if you cannot see this Word document on the screen, then we have to reshare it. So Tapasya Nanji, you can just let me know if Word document is being seen by you, because I have made Tapasya Nanji as the host, so he can manage some chat aspect and other aspects of the administration of this session. So there is a link actually where you can use this for pronouncing the letters. Can you see the Word document? Right now it's the Word document, not the word. So then I have to, okay, Tapasya, you can make me the host. I think there is some problem. Okay, so okay, I hope you are able to see now the screen. And please let me know if there are still any issues you are facing. I already sent you yesterday the place where you can actually practice your Devanagari and the sounds, but there was another site which I found where you can actually, I think for some reason I lost those links, but I would find those links and actually send you those links where you can practice your sound aspect of the different characters. But it is important that your practice of Devanagari, practice of the script should be very thorough and proper. Also, I found that some of you send the screenshot of the computer rather than text of the computer. And in some cases, I found somebody even took a photo of the computer screen and sent me the photo. So that, of course, is not what we are expecting here. So I'll just again tell you what is Sanskrit and how to use this tool. So first, you can go to from the link which we have in the document, like here, this document you have, the transliteration scheme. You have transliteration scheme for typing Sanskrit on computer. So if you go to Sanskrit tool, and it will open the Sanskrit for you. So Sanskrit 2003 font is not necessary. It is nice if you install it, but it's not necessary. So this is the screen for Sanskrit. And the way you will do it, on this left side, you keep iTrans, this font. Right side, you use Devanagari or IAST. So depending upon which script do you want to see in the output. So right side is the output, left side is the input. Input would always be in iTrans. And how do you type the iTrans letters? That is the scheme I had provided. So these are the iTrans. And suppose I want to type this character, then I would actually go into here, and either I would say AA or A, and both would result in A. or I can go to IEST and see the output A. So long A. So that's how you would actually, and then when you want to send the exercise, you would actually copy from here. So for example, if I use type the word Ramaha, so you just select it, copy it, and then you can paste it in the Word or directly in the email client. So Ramaha, like this, I'll just increase. So Ramaha. So like that, you can actually send me your output. So do not take the screenshot and do not also take the photo of the computer, of course. Some of you, actually one person raised the concern that paper also he doesn't have a way to take photograph. In that case, please don't worry. Most of you must be having cell phone with the camera functionality. So use that to send the whatever exercises are on the paper. Use those, write that on paper and take a photograph and send that photograph to us. But for the computer exercises, do not send a screenshot or the photo of the computer screen. Instead, send the actual copy and paste text from here. So same way you can actually switch to Devanagari, and again you copy and you can paste. As I showed you, you can paste anywhere, Word, Excel, even Notepad, and you don't have to install a particular font because this is Unicode natively supported by Windows. The font just looks to make it a little nicer. So that's why I recommended you these two fonts. But it's not necessary for you to have the fonts. And this is the link for learning Devanagari for those who are interested. But it's again, Devanagari is not mandatory. Another confusion which I noticed from your responses was the difference between script and language. So I just want to take a little time to tell you that there are two different things. Many times we actually mix them up because they are so closely associated with each other. So first of all, you understand that script can be used for multiple languages. So like we have this Roman script, which is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and this is used for, many European languages. So English is one, that is one language. Spanish is another one. It has some additional characters, but by and large, this Roman script, A, B, C, D, is being used for Spanish, for Portuguese, and for some other European languages. So one script can be used for multiple languages. And so that way you can understand the script and the language is a different thing. On the other hand, multiple scripts being used for the same language is actually not common. And the reason for that is that languages generally, I told you yesterday, they are not very phonetic. Because Sanskrit is perfectly phonetic language, and therefore it allows one to have multiple scripts. And the beauty of that is that even if you do not know Devanagari, which is the most common script to be used in Sanskrit, you can learn Sanskrit fine actually just by using IEST or even iTrans actually. Or there could be hundreds other scripts which could be used for Sanskrit. So those who are finding the difficulty in these strange shapes of Devanagari are not familiar and are feeling uncomfortable because I'm sometimes putting Devanagari on the screen, please don't be put off by that. I would always be using the Roman scripts in this course. Yes, in the advanced courses, Devanagari may be the default. But in this particular course, because this is for beginners and Devanagari knowledge is not a requirement for understanding this level of Sanskrit, at least in this course, I would always be using Roman script. I may also use Devanagari in many times, but those who do not know Devanagari, they can just ignore the Devanagari script and their Sanskrit learning would be just fine. Their attending this course would be fine. So if you do not know Devanagari, you're finding it very difficult, and it is a difficult script. It requires a lot of practice to actually acquire this script. But nevertheless, for this course, Devanagari knowledge is not required. I would always be using the Roman script, but IAST or iTrans. So iTrans is primarily required, as I explained yesterday, to type on the computer. And you can, so because all these characters, on the other hand, this IAST has some special characters like A or U, like some bars or some dots under, and that cannot be directly typed on the computers easily. So that's why we had this tool, Sanskrit, which actually allows you to see that how to convert from one script to another. So I hope this part is clear. Regarding the script, because I told you that it requires a practice and make sure you check your work properly. I would actually even also like those who want to practice a little bit more, they can send the email if they want to volunteer, and I can send some more exercises for them, which will also help me in teaching material. So if you know Devanagari and you want to do it on the computer, you're comfortable doing on the computer, and you want to volunteer for doing a little bit more practice, which will also help the course, please let me know. Send us an email on learnsanskrit@kriya.org, and it would be helpful for both you as well as for all the other participants, because it will help in course preparation a little bit. Coming back to the script, so just again I want to go over the sounds, and the way I want to go over the sounds is a little different today. So the difference is this: in Sanskrit, the first letter is A. In Roman script, we are writing it as A, and this is the sometimes can be very confusing for people, because when you are writing Rama, you say A, but it's actually A. So whenever in Sanskrit you are writing this script, be careful to actually pronounce the Sanskrit sound, not the English sound. And one of the reasons why Devanagari is helpful, because that confusion will not arise in Devanagari. But when you are writing in the Roman script, that confusion can arise. So be very cautious and careful in that aspect. I want to actually also tell you that the way these sounds are pronounced. So we say A, E, but also if I'm referring to the sound of A. So for example, if I say that this letter ends in A sometimes, or Ka. So Ka, because you see the way Ka is pronounced is the sound of Ka and A, because it's a consonant, cannot be independently pronounced. It is always pronounced with a vowel. So that's why we put A in the end. So Ka sound is actually composite of two sounds, Ka and A. The way we actually resolve this difficulty in Sanskrit to say these sounds, we say Kakara and Akara. So this sound, so I'll just use the whiteboard, and I know some of you mentioned yesterday that my handwriting is not good in Devanagari and also in English. I accept that it's not so good right now, because I don't have a lot of practice. Two, I'm going to order a digital tablet, so hopefully that would have its own screen and would be a little better. So so it's like we say Akara, and in this So akara. And like if I have to refer to the sound of ka, then I'll say kakara. So that actually tells me that this is the sound of ka. This is the way to actually split the sounds in Sanskrit. So if I have to use the word Rama, which is Rama, so I'll say it is Rakara, Akara. So here like the Rakara, sorry, this is not Rakara. So only for this particular thing. So everything else we say Kara, except Ra, we say Refa. So the reason is this: there are two symbols for the R. So this is Ru, and this is Ra. So this is called Rukara, and this is called Refa. Refa. So this sound is called Rukara. So for this sound, when I have to say, I'll say Rukara. Okay, so Rukara and Refa. So only for this sound, Ra, I would use Refa, not Rakara. So for Rama, if I have to say how is it written, you'll say Refa, Akara, Makara, Akara, like this. Okay, so we will pronounce our sounds today. So it will also be a practice, but we will pronounce these sounds saying like this. So I would chant it, I would say it loud, and you repeat after me. Okay, Akara, Akara, Ikara, Ikara, Ukara, Ukara, Ekara, Aikara, Okara, Aukara, Rukara, 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 Rukara. For these sounds, actually I cannot say that. This is a special sound called Visarga, and this is called Anuswara. So I'll just write those words here. So M dot. So Anuswara, and this is called Visarga. Somebody raised the question that M with dot under or dot above. So for Anuswara, actually I have seen both in working, M with dot under as well as dot above. Generally dot under is more common, but I know in some of the text which I posted, the M is dot above. Consider them both as the same. So M, whether dot under or dot above, it's the same thing. Some software, one software I used, that was actually producing the output with M as the dot above. The Sanskrit is using dot as under. So that's why there was a little bit of a confusion. But essentially, so whether M dot, you can say, for our this in our text somehow you will see, but Sanskrit, the tool which I showed you, that actually produces the output as this, and that's fine, that's perfectly fine. So just to let you know, then this sound is generally not used, we'll just ignore. This is called a Chandravindu, we'll just ignore it for now. This is a very special sound. Actually, this is a soundless character. So this is called avagraha. The way you type it is like apostrophe s, and dot a is the I trans symbol. So it's called avagraha. So I'll write it actually. So the symbol in Devanagari is this, in the I trans is this, and it's called avagraha. Interestingly, this sound is not pronounced, and you will find that was not in our alphabet list of characters, because precisely because of this. This is just a notation, and I'll tell you this notation happens. We write this notation to indicate that because of certain rules, we'll read those rules later, Sandhi rules, a particular letter has disappeared. So to indicate that there was this letter and it has disappeared, we use this character to just indicate. So that's why it's not a part of the alphabet and it's not pronounced. It's just to indicate that there was something which is not there and not to be pronounced. I will come back to that when we use this particular character. Then the consonants will pronounce in the same way: kakara, khakara, gakara, ghakara, nkara, chakara, chakara, jakara, jhakara, nkara, takara, thakara, dakara, dhakara, nakara, takara, thakara, dakara, dhakara, nakara, pakara, thakara, bakara, bhakara, makara, yakara, then not rakara, refa, refa, lakara, vakara, shakara, shakara, sakara, hakara. So hopefully today you got a little bit more of this practice. As I told you, I'll share with you the link where you can actually listen to all individual sounds and get a little bit more familiarity with these sounds. I also want to tell you one thing, and that is related to the phonetic aspect of Sanskrit. And some of you actually told that we have the languages which are phonetic. Like Spanish is considered to a good extent phonetic. Portuguese, Hungarian, somebody said, is almost phonetic. When I said Sanskrit is perfectly phonetic, there is a very special quality to Sanskrit actually. And I haven't seen that in any other language or script, and I would love to actually find out if it is there. And the quality is this. So for example, if I were write the word akasha, So for some reason, okay, so a, and I write syllables ka, sha. So in a, ka, sha. So if I ask you, how would you pronounce the individual syllables here? So you will say a, ka, sha. And if you just say it a little faster, akasha, akasha, you see the sound of the word is actually just simply an addition of the sounds of individual syllables. And that is what it gives the perfect capability actually for having this phonetism. Because all the sound units are actually identified and they've been given a particular symbol in the alphabet. So nobody would ever have any confusion how to pronounce once they know how to read the script actually. On the other hand, even if you look at something like so-called phonetic language, like in Portuguese, for example, if you say pouco, which means a little. So the way in Portuguese you will say pe o se o. If you say it continuously pe o se o, it's not sounding like pouco, and that's where the difference comes actually. But here, all you have to pronounce the syllables, just the syllables, individual syllables in a, and then you will be able to pronounce the words. So all you have to understand these about 50 sounds, these I'll call sound units, and that's it. So this part I have not seen in any other language which actually has defined the script in such a beautiful manner that every sound unit is actually mapped to a particular alphabet, and therefore there could be no confusion. So Sanskrit is not just designed in that sense. Actually, it is designed in such a manner that you cannot make it unphonetic unless you become sloppy, because the sound units are directly mapped to the alphabet actually. So I have not seen. So that's why the phonetic aspect of Sanskrit is very different, as far as I know, than any other language. If I would like to know if any other language has the same aspect, where people can just pronounce the word by just having the letters actually, just sounding the letters actually in a continuous fashion, and that becomes the word. So that is a very special aspect of Sanskrit. And also, of course, other Indian languages which have Devanagari as the script, as I said, there over a period of time, I believe it's because of some sloppiness that some languages, even though they are seeing the different letters, but they are not pronouncing correctly, and slowly it becomes like a feature of a language. So other than that, actually, the way this script and the sounds are defined, it just makes it a perfect phonetic language. I have not seen this feature in any other, and I would love to know if any other language has the same feature where they have identified all the sound units and put into the alphabet, mapping every sound unit to one alphabet character. English, for example, has 26 alphabets, 26 letters in the alphabet. But you know that the sound units are actually more. So, for example, in English, if you have sha, this sound unit is simply not represented by one character, or even this character does not always give rise to this sound, or this sound is always not represented by even two characters actually. So that's why Sanskrit has this special aspect of phoneticism. Om is not considered a character. Somebody asked, is Om a character of Devanagari? Om is not considered a character in the alphabet. It is actually considered a sound itself, for which a symbol has been given later on, but it was just a sound. And the way in Sanskrit, you would actually write this letter would be Om. So like this, that's how you would write for the exercise purpose, Om, like this. You just say both letters as capital, Om. And here, if you want to see, there is a transliteration map here also. So right in the below in Sanskrit, there is a transliteration map. So it shows you right here. You don't even have to refer. And some of the characters I apparently not included because they are not so commonly used, but here they are included, like Om or these marks. So this is another question was there. What are these marks? And these are the end of line marks. And in here to produce, all you have to put dot. So if you put dot, it actually produces these end of line marks. So just like full stop. So that's easy actually. So just refer to this transliteration map whenever you have any confusion regarding how to, or even numbers, how to actually type these characters. So this is the transliteration map given right here in the in this. So this was pretty much, I was actually telling you about what we did yesterday. So some interesting aspects of Sanskrit actually. It is known as a free word order language. And when I say free word order, it sounds like a little bit magical or spiritual, maybe. Like example would be, so if I basically say a sentence in English, a simple sentence. Robin goes to school. This sentence has 4 words, and you potentially cannot switch different words, the order of the words, and yet have the meaningful sentence. It just won't work. But in Sanskrit, if I have to write, and I'll just use the word. So I'm first writing just Devanagari. So if I have to Robin, sorry, not Graham, but this somebody might be wondering that what is this word I put together. So Sanskrit has a bit of a we'll discuss that how these words come, but this would be the word in Sanskrit actually, the sentence in Sanskrit. three words actually. The same thing. Robin goes to school. These 3 words can be arranged mathematically in factorial 3 ways. That means 6 ways. And you could write in any ways, and it would actually still have the same meaning. The meaning of the sentence is not disturbed. And that's why it's called free word order language. Like you could say, Gachati Robin Vidyalayam. Vidyalayam Robin Gachati. Vidyalayam Gachati Robin. In either way, like all these all these 3 words, you can put it in any whichever way order, and the meaning will not change. It is perfectly fine to write Sanskrit actually in this manner, that whichever way you choose, even though there is a sort of recommended word order, but it does not change the meaning, and that's why it becomes extremely flexible actually. Now, this I gave you the example of a simple sentence. Let us look at a little bit long sentence. So this I have actually put a little bit long sentence here. So let's say this is the sentence. So I'm telling somebody, I'm talking to somebody called Rita, and I'm saying, oh Rita, Gina, daughter of Erica from Newark, goes by train to a school in New York City to study economics. This is the sentence. In Sanskrit, this sentence actually becomes this. Rite, Gina, Erikayaha putri, Newark Nagarat, Gachati, Relayanena, Vidyalayam, New York Nagare, Arthashastradhyanaye. What I have done, this is not exactly the way you would write Sanskrit, but I have taken word by word from here, from English sentence, and put the Sanskrit word actually together, and then created the sentence. Generally, you would actually say like this. Rite Erikayaha putri Gina Newark Nagrat Arthashastradhyanaye Relayanena New York Nagare Vidyalayam Gachati. Both these sentences, you see the word order is different, but they mean the same thing. In Sanskrit, nobody would confuse what is the meaning you are trying to convey, but try to put the order here in English. And if you say Gina and Erica, just replace these 2 words and you will see the meaning is completely changed, or Newark or New York or economics or whatever. So you can understand in English, if I try to play with the word order, it can be simply wrong, or it can become wrong meaning. It can become meaningless. In Sanskrit, actually, it will not make any difference. And in this case, we are talking of how many words are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those who you know the mathematics, you can probably figure out. You can say that how many combinations would it allow to actually have the 10 words in whichever order. So if I open the calculator, and I'll show you. So for example, if I say 10, and that would be 10 factorial, 10 factorial, and that actually brings out 3.6 million combinations are possible. So I can write this Sanskrit sentence in 3.6 million ways, and yet it would mean the same thing. That is just amazing. It's just mind-boggling that how is it possible? How is it possible in Sanskrit that you could actually write a same sentence in so many different ways, and yet not actually distort the meaning or make it meaningless? So this is not a magic. This is also not related to any spiritual aspect of Sanskrit. This has actually a very scientific aspect, and I'll explain to you how is it possible that we can actually have a free word order in Sanskrit. And I'll explain to you here. So if I take the same English sentence now and divide it into units. Orite, 1 unit. Gina, daughter of Erica from Newark, goes by train to a school in Newark City to study economics. Now if you look at, I could potentially change the order here also. So I could actually say daughter of Erica, Jina, of course, some comma is required, and I can actually say like this. Sorry. And like I can actually put goes in the end and to study economics here like this. So it may look a little funny, like if I put goes in the end in English, but you see the meaning you can still figure out. So I could say Rita, daughter of Erica Gina from Newark by train in New York City to a school to study economics goes. It sounds very funny in English, but the meaning is still decipherable. And that's what Sanskrit employs actually. So in Sanskrit, it doesn't look very funny because Sanskrit allows that. So it's accepted actually that you can actually put the words in any whichever order. Even though, as I said, there is some sort of a recommended order, but it's perfectly acceptable. But this is the reason why Sanskrit actually is able to have this flexibility of free word order. I actually have this means Orita, Gina, Erikayaha Putri, daughter of Erika, Nevark Nagrat, from Nevark Gachati, goes, Relayanena, by the train, Vidyalayam, to the school, New York Nagare, in New York City, Artha Shastra Adhyayanaya. This is a little bit long word that means to study economics. Because one thing, if you notice here, Sanskrit does not use any prepositions. So prepositions actually become that part of the meaning unit. So here I'll say just a meaning unit, which is actually corresponding to a simple word in Sanskrit. So to a school, to study, daughter of Erika, or I say Erika's daughter, in New York City. So all these by train. So you see all these prepositions: by train, in New York City, to study economics, from Newark, to a school. Sanskrit actually combines the prepositions to the actual word, and therefore it is able to attain that kind of flexibility. It just does not use the preposition. It actually changes the form of the word to accommodate the meaning of the preposition. And this is why Sanskrit is actually able to have this kind of structure where word order is not really very important. Of course, if you have a complex sentences, to a certain extent, word order is important, but again, you still have a tremendous flexibility. I know some of you are raising hands. Please post your questions to the in the comments, and we can take a little break, and then I can answer those questions. So you can post your question in the comment section. What this does actually, now look at, just imagine what this does. Because this word order, it actually allows me to put the things in any order. I have so much flexibility in expressing an idea in whichever way, and that's why the poetry becomes such an amazing aspect in Sanskrit. For poets, it's like a free field. Actually, they have a field day when writing in Sanskrit, because you can just write sentence whichever way you want, and that's why everything is written in poetry in Sanskrit. So if you look at all the literature in India, I would say 99% has been written in poetry, and not just the spiritual text we are talking about, like Ramayana, Mahabharata. We are talking of even the mathematics, even the physics, sciences, economics, how to behave, the moral code. All these things are written in poetry in Sanskrit. It's just because it makes it so flexible actually. And poetry writing in Sanskrit is not trivial because it follows a number of rules. And despite following all those number of rules, it, like, you cannot have like a free verse in Sanskrit poetry. I mean, I don't know even in English how is it counted as a poetry, but in Sanskrit you cannot just make up your own thing and say this is poetry. You have to follow certain rules in order to write poems in Sanskrit. So, but because of this structure, because the free word order is so free. Actually, Sanskrit poetry is very, very flexible, and you will find, so Mahabharata, which is considered the largest poem ever written, it has 100,000 verses. Just think of it, 100,000 verses, one text, one book, one poem, and it's all, practically all, I mean, there may be some portions here and there which are not in poem, but the whole thing is poetry. Like Bhagavad Gita, which you read, that's why you can chant, because it's written in poetry. So this, I just wanted to explain to you that how Sanskrit allows the free word order. It's not a magic. It's just the way the language is structured, actually, that way. On the other hand, because these word units combine the meaning of the preposition, many people find it difficult to see so many different forms of the word. And if you understand it correctly, it's not terrifying, but if you do not understand, then it can be terrifying. So we will see in our future classes that how these word forms are generated. Okay. Then I'll just take like a 5-minute break. In the meantime, if you can just copy the alphabet in your own paper, like 10 minutes. So for example, that will give you a little bit like this document, which was already posted on the our document repository, shared repository. So just type all the alphabets, just write it actually, and say it aloud, and see if you are feeling comfortable with the sound, with the letter. It's very important to actually practice. So that will give me a we'll take a like 9:57. So we'll do like at 10:05, and by that time I'll look at your questions and comments, and I should be able to then I'll answer them. Okay. So I'll mute myself and also stop my video. Okay, welcome back. So I did read some of your comments, and I responded to some of them, but here is the thing. Some people said phonetic. They gave the example of Indian languages like Telugu, Hindi. Of course, these are having the same alphabet, so that's there. But my point was any other languages which do not share this alphabet, the same sound unit. So all Indian languages, of course, share the same alphabet. The reason I said that some of that out of the practice or habit have become a little bit less phonetic. Like I gave the example in Bengali, all the three S sounds, they are pronounced as one. So like this. But Indian languages, most of the Indian languages actually are following the same alphabet. They are derived from Sanskrit, or at least follow the same alphabet. They are naturally fall in the same category. I have not seen any other alphabetic system other than this to actually have this perfect phonetism. As some people say Japanese and Romanian, I would try to see that those languages. I would be happy if they have the same, like identified all the sound units and only those many alphabet characters. What is there is a question, what is the recommended word order in Sanskrit? So we'll discuss that recommended word order when we come. I'll just tell you one thing, that recommended word, there is a word called Anvaya. So in Sanskrit, many of you might be familiar this word called Anvaya. And Anvaya basically means when I try to read a verse, say for example Bhagavad Gita, because it's written in the poetry form, and the word order could be anything. In order to make sense of the meaning of the verse, I actually put it in a recommended word order or text, so as if I'm writing in a text rather than as a poem, and that's what is called Anvaya. So Anvaya is actually follows that recommended word order in Sanskrit, and it is important step in order to understand a verse, that you write the Anvaya. I already explained the m dot and m dot under, but there was still a question that m, how is it sound? It is like, it's not an independent sound. It is always followed by a it's actually, it always follows a vowel. So for example, if it follows the vowel ah, we'll say like this. So the sound is pretty much like, there is really not difference between this sound and this sound much, except this is a sound of like you could elongate this sound. So in that sense, it is this sound. This is Anuswara. Somebody has like, how do I write Devanagari? Whether I make the shape first, whether I draw the line first. I already gave you that link, Learning Devanagari. They actually show you how to draw a character. So those who are interested in learning Devanagari, they should refer to that site, and there could be others on the internet that how to write Devanagari. I know that there are a lot of YouTube videos for those who are interested in learning Devanagari. Many people from India, they know Devanagari, and they feel that why should they learn the English script, the Roman script, considering that we are in this age where many of the texts are actually in English. It's always a good idea to pick up the Roman script of Sanskrit, particularly because in this course also, that is our default script. I am trying to use Devanagari as well for most of the places, but good to know the IST. It's all it is really very simple because it follows the standard alphabet of ABCD. So it's very easy actually. Somebody has said like they do not know the computers. Is it okay to just use the handwriting and it's fine? Those who know or those who can use computer, I would definitely recommend. It just becomes so much easier actually in so many ways that you know how to write the Sanskrit on the computer. For example, if you want to send me a question where you want to use a word in Sanskrit, you can just type it and then send the question instead of writing the whole thing in paper and then take a photo and send it to me. Or other way, like even in the searching on the webs, you can actually write the Sanskrit word and you can search on the web. So it's considering that we are very much a technology dominated society. Computer is a pretty much part and parcel of daily life these days. It's good to acquire that knowledge, how to write on the computer. So these are the some of the things I just addressed, and I want to actually then go back to our presentation. So I already told you almost all the literature in meters. That is poetry. We say in meter. In meter is measured. That means everything is very measured way in the poem. There are very specific rules. If during future classes I may give you some idea that what those meters are and how are they formed. Preserved from ancient times. So this is the only language actually which has not undergone any modification for thousands of years. And that's why Mahabharata, if you read, which was believed to be written 5,000 years ago, or Ramayana, which was written even earlier, even if there is a dispute about the timeline, at least it was in few thousand years. You can actually read the same literature today without any problem. If you just learn this Sanskrit, you can just read the whole thing without any problem. That is such a preservation. I do not know if any other language has it. Like in English, even if you try to read 500-year-old English like Shakespearean, you would find some challenges. You may be able to understand it, but it definitely looks very different than what we use today. Most of the, like even in Hindi, if you read Bhartendu Harishchandra's language, or that seems like, which was in 1,000 years ago, which seems different. Like Tamil also, we know there is an old Tamil and modern one. So languages undergo certain transformation. It's very natural. Sanskrit is extremely preserved, and the reason why is it's so well preserved, has not undergone those kind of transformations, is because of the grammar, the emphasis on grammar. And Panini's grammar, because it almost perfectly codified all the rules, people just followed those grammatical rules and kept writing Sanskrit. So I can read somebody who writes a poem in Sanskrit today, and I can read a poem in Sanskrit 5,000 years ago with the same, this knowledge of Sanskrit actually. So there is absolutely no problem in reading Sanskrit from the scriptures, even if I learn it today, or for a modern poet also. Similar to computer logic. So this is a bit of a confusing thing, and the confusion arises that most of the people interpret it as this language is most suitable for computers. And as, like, if you actually, for example, are able to develop a language in Sanskrit rather than in English for computer could be far more efficient. Many people have this understanding, which is not correct actually. It's a little bit of a funny incident. So when I came to USA, I actually was in Silicon Valley. I was working in IT, and I had heard about this, that Sanskrit is the most perfect language for the computers and most suitable language for the computers. And I did not know Sanskrit so well, but I knew some Sanskrit. And I thought, okay, I know Sanskrit, I am in IT, I know computers. If that is what it is, then I can invent something to make the computer really fast and more efficient. And I actually tried to look for, and I communicated with some people, and then I came to know it's not exactly that Sanskrit is actually more suitable for computers in that sense that you can write a programming language, because as you know, computer is based upon the circuitry of electron switches 0 and 1, and then you can get the commands using whatever language you specify. So Sanskrit may not be really perfect in that sense, but what we normally refer to is like its logic, its grammar logic follows very much like a computer logic. So the way Panini has written the grammar of Sanskrit, it actually follows a computer-like logic. Like I gave you the example, like if then else. So that kind of logic he has actually put in, and those loops could go multiple iterations. There is variables, list variables, range variables, and he refers to those variables into the further sutras, further formulas, because say sutras. So if you look at in that sense, Panini has used so many aspects of computer logic while writing his grammar, and that's why many people consider that Panini should be considered the father of computer science in the world. Because that grammatical structure is so computer-like, so logical. It's just amazing to think that this was written thousands of years ago, at least 2,500 years, and between 2,500 and 5,000 years sometime. Just to think that somebody could write that kind of thing, that too in a language. And we talk about that most of the world, except India, nobody even knew about zero at that time actually. So to have that kind of logic incorporated to define the grammar, it is just mind-boggling. To me, if I read Panini, just to see that how somebody could come up with this kind of a structure is just amazing. So in that sense, Sanskrit is actually more computer-like. Of course, another aspect which could be useful in computer is that, which is not practical probably these days, is, I told you, it's a perfectly phonetic language. So like in a speech to text, if a computer could be designed, and people, before computers could be designed, people have to learn how to speak Sanskrit very properly, not an easy task. In that case, the speech to text applications they can be designed very almost to the 100% accuracy. In that sense, it could be used. But it's not like there is an underlying something that you can write in Sanskrit and make the computer more efficient. Sanskrit does not have an all words dictionary. What does it mean? Like, how can you have, what is the meaning of a dictionary if it does not define all the words? And why is it so? So one thing I bring your attention to here, and if you look at here, I told you that Sanskrit actually incorporates the and the prepositions into the word itself. So, for example, Nevark Nagrat, it means from New York, Nevark, or New York Nagre, in New York City. You will not find this word in dictionary, but this is the word which is used in the sentence. So this is a little bit strange. What you use in the sentence is generally not found in the dictionary, and what is found in the dictionary is the base form of this word. So I would have Nagara, which is the base form, like city. Nagara means city. So that is the base form of the word which is available in dictionary, but not the form which I use in a sentence actually, or make a word out of it. So that's why in Sanskrit actually, even in order to refer to dictionary, you must be familiar with a fair amount of grammar. Otherwise, you will not be even able to make use of dictionary. So it's a, and because of that, Sanskrit, you will see that there could be so many forms. I mean, it's just not possible to actually put all those forms in a dictionary. So that's why we do not have, like, you cannot just go to Bhagavad Gita, for example, read a word, try to look for it in a dictionary, won't work. You have to understand a little bit of grammar, that what is the base word for the word which appears in Gita, and then look at that word in dictionary, and then you can understand the meaning. So this is one of the reasons this course will actually help you to understand the basic aspects of grammar. So to a certain extent, you would be familiar to see that whether I can actually refer, how can I refer to the dictionary. So just to understand this part, that we can't have actually a dictionary here, which is all encompassing. Another aspect of Sanskrit which is actually very amazing, and there is something called Dhatu Kosha. So Dhatu Kosha means, simply Dhatu means root, and Kosha means collection. So collection of root words. So in Sanskrit, there are 2000, about 2000 root words. And all the Sanskrit words, like whatever you see, millions and millions of words in different forms, they all are derived from these root words. I mean, that is just such an amazing aspect, that everything, there are very, very specific rules, and that's what actually Panini's work does. It actually has all those rules, apply those rules onto these root words, and then generate those word forms. This is just such an amazing thing, and those rules, as I told you, they are very computer-like rules. Like, you can actually define the operations onto those roots, and generate the word form. So for example, I showed you this this sentence. This sentence has these many words, and all these words are actually can be driven from those root words actually. So there are very specific rules. I mean, I'm not talking of the specific like New York and never, because these are the proper names. But otherwise, all the words can be derived from those root words. Those root words are generally very simple, like very short. So one of the root word, for example, is, I'm just using this symbol for specifying root, to say that this is a root word, but otherwise it doesn't have to be. So gum. Those people who are wondering what this sign is, this is called halanta. So whenever there is a word which is ending in a consonant, not in a vowel, to indicate that it doesn't have any consonant, you actually just put a word horizontal line to the letter which says gum. So not gamma. Otherwise, if I didn't have this, I would be pronouncing it as gamma. It's gum. So it's ending in ma sound, makara sound. So here I would say makara. It's ending in makara. So gum, and it means to go. Very, very common root. It is used very commonly. Gum means to go. Like there are only 2000 root words. That's all. And out of which again there is sort of an 80-20 rule. That means 20% of the root words actually form about 80% of the Sanskrit words. So most of the times you would be able to see the words related to those root words. So there are not so many actually. There are such finite number, and yet millions and millions of words are actually derived from those root words. So that is a very amazing aspect to me of Sanskrit. This Dhatu Kosha, just collection of all the root words. This is these are all monosyllable or maybe two syllables roots. Most of them are monosyllabic. So I'll just give you one more example, which is also very, very common. So that is kru, and it means to do. All these root words, they have the meaning of verbs like to do, to go. So all these root words are basically verbal words, like they are verbs actually in Sanskrit. These are called the basic verbs. Then there are secondary verbs. We'll discuss those. But these are the basic verbs. So these are only so many of them, and they are not always like, there could be many roots which are having the same meaning as go. So another is yeah, just simple yeah, which actually has the same meaning as gum, to go. So in Bhagavad Gita, for example, you see the word gachati or yati, they mean the same thing, to go. Kru is very common root. So like that, there are few roots which are very, very common. We'll encounter them again and again. But think about it, that millions of words, practically all Sanskrit words. There are some grammarians where there is a difference of opinion whether is it all words or is it just some exception. But nevertheless, instead of going into those finer things, whether I would say almost all words are derived from these root words. And in some cases, when we are working out, we'll see that how the root word actually makes the actual form which appears in a sentence. So with this, we are at the end of our class. I would today, because we did not do any kind of practice, I don't have an exercise for you. I was thinking we could go a little further, but we are stopping here. I hope it gave you some good idea about Sanskrit, and this information would help us learning when we get into the grammatical concepts. So for tomorrow again we have a class, and then we have on Friday in this week, and tomorrow we'll actually jump into some of the basic grammar concepts of Sanskrit, because that is the heart of learning Sanskrit. For the exercises, please do submit those exercises which you have, if you have not done, and if you have done also but not done correctly, please resubmit them. Also, you can send me your questions, and if you want a little bit more exercise and you are comfortable with Devanagari, send me, you can send me if you want to volunteer for that. I'll send you some more exercise which will also help to actually for the course material as well. We can post some of the material on our website. Also write your number if you are volunteering for, so that I can talk to you and explain to you what I'm looking for. Okay, so with this, we'll just say our prayers, closing prayers, and so these are our closing prayers. So we'll chant together. So first we'll chant the mantra for everyone's well-being. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you everyone. See you tomorrow. Okay.